Alright, hey guys. I wasn't really planning on doing this initially, but I wanted to make sure that we didn't lose out on the King's Row defense at least. So I'm just gonna kind of look through this and see what we can observe. I'll probably put this up regardless, but there's a good chance that there will be not much to say. Um, I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. Let's just go through it. But yeah, I just didn't want to lose this. I want to keep working on at least our strategy, just so that we can kind of get the sense of like what the team play is going to look like, and really get down one solid map, even if it's just for defense. Because I think then we can take this core identity of this composition and start like pasting it onto other maps that it's applicable. A composition like this can be really applicable on a map like Numbani, where we could have the Roadhog hold, underneath near the point and have the Winston play top left. Sorry. Or top right, rather. But yeah, so just going to kind of feel out and look at this composition, see how we play it, see what we might have been able to do better. Like the zapping as they go through. Don't ever contest a composition like that. Because if you get hacked right here, complex, you are dead, like hyper dead. Once they come inside, you need to recognize their ability to come up the stairs and just run away faster. Big picks by Shadow. Tat, you're a little bit too slow in this recognition and this rotation too. They force you out. Okay, I remember this, and I remember you surviving this. So, yeah, this rotation is just slow from you guys right here. As soon as they go inside, pretty much, you just have to be like, well, they can come up the stairs, so we just have to give it to them. Because what essentially could happen, we're going to see here, because I want to know, they might have already speed amped, but like at this moment right here, where is his amp? Okay, so they could very well just have turned that corner and amped onto complex and hacked him so he couldn't jump, and then he would have been super dead if this was a little bit more polished on their part. And same thing for Tad. So both of you should be gone from this positioning, because once they go underneath with no contest, you guys lose this positioning here because their composition is just better at close range. So this is really, really close. Okay, really nice shot by Greedy. Want to see this shot again. He's hit this multiple times, which is great, but we want to see if we can avoid this. Because I think ideally Tat and like I said, Tat and Complex, they leave this positioning sooner, so Tat can stay up top with Greedy. I think he has to drop eventually anyway, because the fight is too underneath this ledge for him to really like heal the team. What is the shot Greedy hits here? Okay, this is a good shot. I am concerned that you've had to hit that shot pretty much every time we've run this composition, though. I do wonder if that's going to be a problem in the future. But the idea is generally that you should be able to hold between the two of you, and I don't think every time the Reaper's gone up there, I feel like Tat's been forced to drop, either due to like poor rotations or like poor I think the first time he dropped because he just didn't understand what was happening in the comp exactly. It was the first time we had played it, shout out to Lil Wayne. Shadow, this is the aggression that we're talking about sometimes, where like check the line of sight. You have to be more aware, even though like you don't know that they have a Widow, you should know that they have a Widow, because you should be able to just hit tab once the fight is cleaned up. You should never peek an angle like this, especially on a map like King's Row, without tabbing first, because as soon as you get picked, this composition becomes much more fragile, whatever, and a lot easier to break because we lose a lot of the damage. So we're able to get the res off due to the body block, so it's mostly okay. But this is like a res that we didn't need to waste. Like if you just hadn't peeked that sight line, if you hadn't been greedy, like you already have tire. Like why are you being greedy? Like greedy's supposed to be greedy. Don't be greedy. That was a bad joke. I don't think it really came across well. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't even been able to hear the reaction, but I can already hear the like what. Okay. Let's see here. So one of the things I was noting was so in this instance, right, Complex doesn't really need help against the Widow. So Tat, like, especially because Genetic attacked, Tat goes onto like full pocket on Genetic. But I was noticing basically like every time Genetic goes inside, it makes life harder for like Tat, Luna, and Shadow. So I wonder if going inside is just really, really bad because you break line of sight with most of your team. I think the initial idea that I had was that you shouldn't like retreat into here. You should retreat back here, like back towards your spawn. And I think that holds true still because if you, retreat back towards spawn, and you and Shadow do it properly, then at least the enemies can't be behind you, and Complex can sandwich them. Like if he forces out the Widow, and now he can jump in behind the enemies, and you can sandwich them, and Tat has their backs to him. He can hit antis and stuff like that. I think one of the big things again is, okay, so the nade is going to be really good for keeping people up from critical situations, but I think it's going to be really, really big for hitting antis when they're focused on the other half of the team. And I think that's going to be a big part of getting Complex value, is hitting antis so that he's more threatening. So firstly, rotations here, instead of going inside, maybe going back here. I think we should try that out for sure. And then secondly, seeing how you can hold the nade for specific antis and anting for specific moments, but I think that one might be a little bit trickier to kind of like see. A lot of that's going to be super situational, keeps getting hacked. Big bubble light Complex, big block. So the other thing too that I was thinking is that maybe the Nano should be going on Genetic more. Like we haven't got Nano here yet, right? Like we could have probably had Nano, I think, if Genetic stays in Tat's line of sight and lets him heal him. But I think depending on the percentage, like you see they don't have any ticks yet. I think we don't give it to, like, because the initial idea was give Nano to Complex so that he can stall point so that nobody else has to touch point. But I think that unless they're about to full cap, unless they're about to get that third tick, we don't really care about stall too much. So we might as well just Nano Genetic so that he can just clean up the fight quicker and survive easier. Because then, like, if we're able to farm Nano and he's able to get Nanoed right here, we swing this whole fight, right? But, like, Complex doesn't need it. So, 1, line of sight. 2, Nano repriority. And then, like, 2B, nade kind of, like, repriority or something. I don't think it's a repriority, but, like, maybe more, like, nade ideas. Yeah, I think that's a bad Nano because he's still primaled. So, when we Nano Complex, we want a Nano for sustain. Also, Greedy gets 2, so... What happened? I remember Tat going to, like, I think nade, and I think it gets, like, blocked or something. I want to see that again. I don't remember what exactly had happened there. That was funny. Okay, so he's about to get nade back. I think you guys did a really, really good job here. Oh, okay. Greedy steps in front of the nade. That's fucking funny. Then he leaves. That's fucking hilarious. No, but yeah, I don't think the Nano is worthwhile onto Complex who's primaled. Just maybe a little bit more discipline with the Nano there, because we're not really looking, when it's on Complex, we're not really looking for him to clean up fights. We're looking for him to stay alive and, you know, sustain, because he's only going to attack certain points effectively. He's not going to really be good against most heroes in any given composition. But he's going to be really good at stalling out, and ooh, that sucks. And then we can't res that. So I am going to look at this Greedy, right, from the enemy Widow's perspective. So this is something that you want to be careful of. is knowing where the other Widow is before you peek big angles like this. Because see, look at how many different sight lines she's checking right now. And look at, actually, let's just go to your perspective. Look at how much knowledge you have on where, like, she's checking right now. Like, you don't know where she's looking. Like, Complex just got hit, so you could assume that she's looking at that corner. This isn't a, like, you don't want to peek into a Widow like this. Because it's just not worth it. Like, you're just taking too much of a gamble there, right? So we want to play this a little bit slower and wait for either Complex to bubble you so you could take the fair peek, or like, it wouldn't be fair, but like you would have an advantage peek, or just say fuck it, not challenge her until you know, you think she has sights down, or like you think that she's like focused somewhere else. Because right now we're during these downtimes, she has nothing to do but to look for you. Like, she's not, the only person she could be shooting at is Genetic, and she's not gonna really kill Genetic. So any smart Widow is gonna just be like, fuck it, it's a Roadhog. I'm just gonna leave him alone. So, like, you might as well just assume that she's looking for you, just because nothing else is happening right now, so there's not a lot to draw her attention away. And by the way, when I say we retreat back towards spawn, that doesn't mean we can't go through hotel as a rotation, to, like, kind of put, like, flank pressure, but we have to, like, call it beforehand. So, like, Genetic, you have to make sure you call it with enough, like, preemptive. You have to call it early enough, sorry, that like Luna and Shadow can follow easily, but also, like, the rotation back towards spawn is a retreat rotation. The rotation through hotel is an aggressive rotation, you know? That's the main difference there. So they grab you guys. So what could we have done here? So first of all, I want to say that we could, this is one of those situations where I think the biggest first step is being more aware of what ults they have and more aware of what ults they're going to use, right? I think what would have helped here is Complex jumping on and just bubbling you guys. And I think Tat throws a nade in. Because if the bubble goes down, then that's an extra, like, 800 health that has to get chewed through in some capacity. I think Shadow still probably definitely dies. Because there's just very little you can do about that. And at least Luna has some form of self-regen if she doesn't get hit, though she's getting tick damage from the grab, so... Okay. So, in this case, again, I think the first thing that we could be doing is saying, like, okay, recognizing that they have grab. Because I think if we recognize that they have grab, we can split off Luna, and we can probably do the same thing with EMP. Because the biggest concern with this composition is that Luna is hyper vulnerable if she's grabbed or EMP'd or shattered or like any big CC type ultimate. Like, Luna's the most vulnerable, but she's also the one that provides the most sustained type Z's. So I think whenever they have like a Blizzard, a Shatter, a Grab, an EMP, that Luna starts to play from like up here a little bit more. And stops playing with the two of you. Like, she wants to play from positionings where she could heal you guys. Maybe she plays like over here so that they have to make a decision on who to grab. And then if anything, she can back up here. And if Tat can peek her, she can go up. I think if we did a play like that, we should call that like a back peek. Like, you go like, hey, Tat, or like, it's because there should be 3 people up here, right? So like, let's assume Greedy is up here. So like, anybody who's in this window right here, like, Luna could be like, can I get a back peek? And then you can just like GA up to whoever can peek you here. And then you can just play with the 4 on the high grounds and just patience them out, even if these 2 do get picked. But then again, that's assuming that Luna goes this way and then gets pressured, right? So if Luna goes this way and then gets pressured, and then Genetic follows up by punishing the person who pressures Luna, then we should be able to restabilize without too much of an issue. But I think 2 solutions to maybe these types of things are, 1, Complex jumping onto them and putting the bubble down. And then 2, Luna separating when they have these types of ultimates to play from a slightly different zone. So they have to either choose whether or not they want to grab Luna and force her out, or choose if they want to get Genetic and Shadow. Now, what this happens is, for Genetic and Shadow, is that they have to recognize that if Luna is chosen, that they have to basically look to kill whoever is attacking Luna. Like, if the Zarya pushes Luna, then the Zarya has to get like hyper pressure. She has to get hooked. She has to get concussion. She has to get trapped. She has to just get hit with all of the abilities so that you can protect Luna while she's in that grab. But I think just leaving it out bare neutral like this is really, really bad because they just kind of get all pressured down and there's not a ton we could do. We almost have another nano, which is nice. This composition takes a lot of damage, but it sustains pretty well and it trades out pretty well. Okay, let's keep watching now. Too much aggression. You have no teammates to help you. You are just facing the enemy team. Like Shadow, Genetic's able to like help you, but like what you're trading is not really worth it because you're trading some alt charge for bubble resources when they're pushing, and you're requiring Genetic and Luna to come up further than they may otherwise want to. Like, this is really, really far forward, and if their Lucio is doing the smart thing... Oh, wait, no, their Lucio is the only one who can sit on point. Oh, no, they just made a decision. Their Moira should be sitting on point, and their Lucio should be speeding them forward, because then they would be able to catch you guys and kill you guys. Especially now that Genetic has no friendly bubble. So, if they had made a different decision, let's say, let me not even say the right decision because we don't absolutely know if that's the right decision. If they had made a different decision, they might have been able to just catch you out. So this is really the trade you're making, is that you're taking gambles on what they're doing in the first place, and then you're also playing so far forward that what you're trying to get is not worth what you're risking to give. You're just not making valuable risks, or you're not taking valuable risks in a fight. We'll look at Genetic's death right here. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think this... Okay, so this is another thing that we can look at where we might want to bubble this again. Because coming out of this, like, doorway right here, Complex is gonna be a little bit far forward or whatever, right? He's gonna go up to top. Realize that we can't hold this positioning. I think you should transfer back instead of, like, rotating behind them. Like this. No, because you're going for the Widow. You're kind of pressuring out Widow, so I think this is actually pretty far. Alright. Either way, though, the main thing that we're focusing on is Complex. He's going to need healing. He's going to get the healing while Genetic is getting pressured down. And I think this is a 50-50 situation. I think you should value Genetic here more because he's actively getting pressured down while Complex is in a safe space. But right here, then, Complex, you don't have bubble because you bubbled already, so that's a problem. I would say that you have to jump or, like, move towards Genetic to, like, body block for him. Because once the supports are, like, not putting the resources into Genetic and Genetic's calling for help, you and Shadow are really the next ones who can help. The only way Shadow can help is just by, like, hitting the people who are hitting Complex, or Genetic, rather. But Complex, the way that you could help is just kind of dropping down in front of the Zarya and, like, face tanking, basically, for him until you get bubble back up, until he gets healed back up. Because, actually, yeah, he bubbles you, too. So, like, you could have just face tanked with his bubble on you. Yeah, you should have just dropped in between Genetic and the enemy Zarya here, because that would have saved him. So I think one of the things that you might need to add into your playstyle here, Complex, what was the fuck was that accent? Is you need to know when to, like, body block or shield your allies rather than just using your shield to isolate the enemies. Like, there needs to be some level of trade-off, and I think there's been, like, 2 situations now where you probably could have bubbled your allies or, like, body blocked for them, and you might have been able to save them. So it's going to be a little bit more of a complex decision making. Get it? That's happening. But I think that's one of those situations that could have been done. And then we would have still had res, which would have been nice. But since we had res, we were able to, like, just keep this going. 2 ults. Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. I love winning fights with 2 ults at a time. It is good. Let's see, do we get back into proper positioning? Where's Tat? Oh, Tat has to take the super long way. Yeah, we might need to look at that because that is a far ass rotation for you. I think in this instance, Tat, where it's like you held where you held in the third spot and now you're transitioning back to the second spot, you just go streets. Because I think this high ground is just, this is far as fuck. And Shadow, this isn't the positioning that we had initially kind of like talked about. But I remember hearing you call this kind of like audible, which I think in a normal game is pretty alright, but they have a Widow here. So I don't think you can play this angle, even though they're coming at a spawn. Especially because they're already on you. Like, I want to see how you react to this. Okay, so you're able to get out. I'm still a little bit afraid of the Widow here. I think you should be too. Just respect her a little bit more. Because she can one-shot kill you, and then we don't have res because we just used it on genetic. So I think that's a very risky play, and again, I just think it's not worth the trade out of like what you got, like what you got, like anyway, you got like 10% ult charge or whatever. Like, it's not that worth it for the trade out. At best, you get a pick and you make them sit and spawn for an extra like 5 seconds, but again, that's not really worth it because if you get picked, the trade-off is that you have to take like a 10 or 15-second walk back. So it's like, what are you really getting? Sure, you live in this situation and you get 10 ult charge, but at best and worst case scenario, you have a 15-second walk back and they have like a 5-second walk back. So, like, is it really worth it? I don't think so. And nobody can really help you there. Big block there by Genetic. Again, we get the grab again. Where did we nano? We nanoed a complex. This could be a good counter dive, but because Genetic and Shadow are dead already, like, because they die first, it's not great. And then the debate. Once we lose a fight complex, try to fight on cart. Like, once we lose 2, just try to fight on cart. Like, on cart. I'm not talking about first point. I'm, like, in streets phase, just try to fight on cart whenever we, you know, lose that. Alright. And then from this, they should just get streets. There should be no way that we can recontest this now. Because we kind of died really, really scattered and split. Because Complex jumped far back. Oh, no, we get the recontest. That's right. How close are we to Grav? We are pretty close to Grav. I think you guys actually did a pretty good job on this. I don't remember exactly what happens, but EMP comes out. Hacked. In this instance, the Zarya is a more important target because Zarya's over the duration of fight is more threatening because Grav is a bigger ultimate. They can have time to farm up Grav, but also the longer the fight goes on, the more likely they are to have high charge. So in a fight, when you have to choose between a low health Zarya and a low health other target, Zarya is more important because fucking look at Genetic right now. Would you want to face down this man late into a fight? No. Okay, so yeah, we actually do a really good job there. Once the bubble goes away, you stop peeking. Actually, no, because you've already hit a shot, or somebody's hit a shot on her, and you have the sight line, so that's okay. I'm more concerned about them just, like, getting the jump, because you're in the middle of nowhere. That was the main thing, actually. The middle of nowhereness is my real concern. So Shadow, this isn't the positioning, just watch out for the trade. It's not really worth it on your end. I like this positioning from you 3, because I like the little pocket back here. I think Luna repositioning with the two of them when they're on the low ground is actually good. But at the same time, it would have been nice to see Shadow getting pocketed so that as they come under, he can chunk a ton of damage. But since he has Tire, I think contextually, this is a really, really good like adaptation, right? Where Shadow's going behind with Tire, Luna is dropping back so that she can play on the two squishies who are playing low ground when they could be high, or when they should be high ground. Like, they can't be high ground because the rotation is too long. So, like, we want to fortify them with the Mercy instead. So I think that's really good. Complex will be fine for at least a bit because he's the Ana pocket. Shadow has Tire, and he's taking kind of a back flank while they've already pushed under him. So, like, he's pretty comfortable there. I think this is good all around. Let's see if it works out, though. Big Tire, big plays. Widow picks one. Expected. We res. No problem. Good pick by Genetic. Getting aggressive. Picking it up. Honestly, Shadow, this is where you should be getting aggressive. Like, you see how Genetic gets aggressive here? Once the fight is over and the enemies are kind of, like, split up and a little bit all over the place. Like, you're gonna get 3, right? Boom. Fight's over. Get aggressive. Before this, don't get aggressive. There's no reason to get aggressive before this moment. But, like, once this fight's done, especially as, like, a character who has some sort of survivability mechanic, you can then get aggressive in these moments. This is where you want to trade. Once you find somebody like this Reinhardt, you can't chase him anymore because once his allies respawn and he turns his corner, he gets their healing and then he can fight you on even terms. And Genetic's also low. You got to back out. But, like, for this short stint where it's like they're not at their spawn, the fight's definitely over because you've like pulled it back with the big ultimate. That's where you can get aggressive. Before that, you should be playing like in a traditional positioning. You should be playing with your team, paying attention to seeing how far your tanks are to know how far forward you can be. I think here, Luna, you need to go back to Shadow. Because Greedy has sights. He has his duel to take. And he should be playing with Tat. I feel like we've kind of like foregone our composition here. Because like Shadow and Complex should be reset here. Greedy and Tat should be back up here. Luna should be with Complex and Shadow, and Genetic should be. Genetic's not in a bad position. I think he should be on the corner because he's already going to be fragile as it is. So using Bubble to like back up here might be a little bit problematic, especially since even if he grabs, there's no follow-up ultimate anymore. So you know, like it's a little bit risky to grab here. He has to really carry the grab on his own because Shadow is in position to follow up. Where is Shadow? Shadow should really be in this tunnel again, all things considered, but it looks like he's rotating back, which is good. But he needs to finish rotating. Like, we kind of just, like, give up our strategy here. Trade grabs. Complex does his thing, gets shattered. One more %, we would have been able to actually keep him alive. That's unfortunate, but instead, you know, Genetic, which is good. He gets booped, which is sad. Those are sad boy hours right there. This is the point we lose, though. I think where this Zarya gets into her backline. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, no, because we actually hold them here. They're just super annoying for a while. But this is the point where we could lose because Shadow and Greedy are low, and she has pretty decent charge. She should be about 50 charge from the looks of it. Yeah, 55. Nice. So, like, we could very well just lose here. But I think you guys actually do a pretty decent job. So we lose one. Genetic with that flick 180 bubble. Misses. Shadow hits Greedy. Unfortunate. He should be hitting Shadow there because Shadow's the one that's getting beamed. But it's still a valiant effort. And then they're just going to be annoying for a long-ass time. Trade one tank for the next. Big picks by Shadow. I actually think that's a good chase. I do think that's a good chase. I just think that Shadow probably shouldn't have chased if he didn't have both concussions. Like, he should have used one concussion in, one concussion out. But I think that's a good chase because Moira is super wispy. She used her mobility. You know where she is. There's not a lot of enemies. So, you know, it's just really good. Focus fire. Greedy, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. I'm not gonna lie. You like low-key tilted me. I was like, oh, the fight's over. It's okay. Oh, the fight's over. It's okay. Why is the fight not over? Why is Greedy still on the cart? Like, go get some space, fam. Like, back up. Why are you getting closer to the cart? At least get the high ground above cart. You just keep getting closer to cart because you want to see the other angle. But just get the high ground above cart. Just don't be on cart. Like, what? Why are you here? What is this positioning? This diva could have, like, rocked your shit. She should have rocked your shit, honestly. This Tracer could have rocked your shit. She should have rocked your shit, honestly. It's whatever. No, but you guys do a good job of holding here. I think that last hold was a little bit shaky. I think first point we could have cleaned up a little bit more. Just to kind of like, you know, be prepared. But I think all things considered, we actually look pretty good on this map so far. We might just need to start cleaning up the attack next. But I'll do a separate thing for the attack. I think at some point. I just don't know yet. So 31 minutes. Hopefully it's not too long. Hopefully you guys check this out because I think there was some good points to go over because we do want to then be able to take these same concepts. Like I said, we can copy and paste this over to, you know, maps like Numbani. We can probably copy and paste something similar onto Eichenwald, just changing complexes, like what he does and stuff like that. So we'll fiddle around with the idea a little bit more and start, you know, seeing how we could transfer it onto other maps and seeing how we want to change things, and then also see how our attack strategy works. I think we have more of an identified attack strategy, especially on maps like Rialto, where we run like Widow Ashe, and then we, you know, like we run Mercy Ana, and that's kind of just like we play through the tanks for the most part. We let our tank line be the part that changes to adapt to the enemies and stuff like that for the most part. Like Shadow and the tanks are the flexible part of our composition right now, with Greedy really just picking whether or not it's a close range map or a long range map. And then we almost always run on a Mercy, which I think is just really good right now to run. It just seems to be the comfort meta. So, yeah. See you guys on Friday.